Folks, welcome inside the Parisi Palace, high above 3773 East Broadway. This is a live edition of the Jake Feinberg Show, coming on Power Talk. Thank you so much for tuning in wherever you are in this great world. And it really is humbling to meet certain marks that you set out for yourself. I think, just in general, for me at 42 years old, I've been trying to find music that is essentially still being created in the community, because all the great music that we all love came out of the community. And I had a chance to see this cat in Long Beach. It's going on a couple years now, and he and his compadres completely blew my head open, just because you could tell that they had a lot of trust amongst each other, and they enjoyed playing together. They were having a heck of a lot of fun, and the music was really danceable. And so I've been waiting for a long time, because his essence is part of the old school, the Grant Greens and the Wes Montgomerys, but there's also some Jimi Hendrix in there, and his own style. He's learned to find his own individual sound. Marvin McDaniel, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Hey.
Good to hear you, man. I was hoping you could talk a little bit about, in this time, is music the only thing you've ever known how to do?
Actually, no. I started out more so as an artist. I used to paint and draw. Music came to me. Well, I knew it was always in me, but I didn't really take interest as far as seriously to music. I think it was around maybe the 11th grade in high school, and I saw some friends of mine. At the time, I didn't know musicians were playing at lunchtime, outside on a quad up in L.A., and it was three brothers, drummer named Paul Mabry, bass player Leon Randolph, and the guitar player name was Stephen Hines. And so seeing them play at lunchtime, they were actually doing some Band of the Gypsies. Now I wasn't really into Hendrix. I knew about Hendrix when he died, because I remember as a little kid, and he died. I was sitting on the corner of the fire hydrant, and there were people driving around during the daytime with their lights on in their car. And I asked my mom, why are people driving with the lights on in the daytime? She said a very famous guitar player died, And she said, well, I'll get some music and let you check it out. Basically, my mom played a lot of, old Motown, Wes Montgomery, Cannonball Adderley type stuff, Miles Davis. So I had a lot of music going on and around the house coming up. But what it was, seeing these guys play in the 11th grade, and because my mother brought these albums, these bootleg albums back in those days, you can buy bootleg albums from the swap meet. They came in different colors, like orange, green, red, whatever.
Yeah, man.
So I put the album on as a kid, and it was too heavy for me.
Right.
I was like, okay, this was when. I'm sorry, man, people trying to call me. But anyway,
it was too hot. It was too hot.
My mom is calling.
Your mom's calling.
My mom
Of course,
your
mom's calling.
Her back.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Do you still, I think that Coleman Hawkins and so many of these, other, sort of swing, before pre-bop cats, they all were painting with their instrument. And it was really less about technical facility and much more about colors. And so have you found in hindsight over time that you feel like you're a painter on the guitar?
Well, yeah, that's what I try to do when I play, and as far as writing too. You paint a picture. So you know, that's pretty much my approach to it. Not necessarily technical. No, I could be technical if I want to, but it's all about saying something, and feeling it. And if I can make you feel, or anybody feel, two notes that I play, or whatever, I know I've done my job. And it's the spirit that we all have. This is why we like music. Music takes all of us a mind off a lot of things. It can be happy, it can be sad, bring back memories when you're a kid, certain things that touches you. And like I said, I just finished up my second CD, and so far I've been getting a lot of good positive vibes from people who haven't. Now, I haven't put it up yet as far as online, streaming, anything, but everybody the few that have it, it's really been blowing my phone up and sending me messages, giving me, love on that. And I'm kind of shocked to be actually, I'm kind of shocked.
Yeah, because you're a humble cat. Of course you're shocked.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked of the love that I've been getting on it, and basically. And like I told them, if I don't make another dime off of it, I'm cool, because
I love it.
I did my job, because it makes you feel a certain way. The job is done right there. So,
With
yeah.
that trio, so this is interesting. So your mom was pretty hip. I mean, still is obviously hip. I mean, she was listening to because there was this definitive time when Motown was still, it was like acoustic soul music, right? And then it changed to when people plugged in, when they, it was more Fender Rhodes and electric basses. But were you what music did appeal to your ear when you were old enough to, so the band of Gypsies, I mean, Hendrix was just like an electric spirit, like he was on fire, but it's still not music I'm going to turn to. I'm going to turn to Bags and Wes before I turn to Jimmy. But so what was what was your early bag that you really got off on, and maybe is reflective in a little in a tune or two in this new CD that you remember back from your childhood?
Well, I was really into the Motown stuff, all the vocals, the bands,
The Temps and the Four Tops.
I really love the Supremes. I'm gonna tell you right now.
The Supremes, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah.
I love the Supremes band, and now that I think about it, that was probably my favorite band until the Jackson 5 came along. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I was heavily into that. So more of the vocal things and the song, they wrote good songs, man. They told a story, and you can actually feel the emotion. Well, I did more so on the vocal part, the singing. Like I said, I wasn't thinking about playing an instrument at all. It wasn't until like 11th grade, 12th grade that I decided to play guitar. And I was already at that time working a job after school. So I would get 15 minutes in here, 15 minutes in there, whatever I could, because all my friends back then, they were professional musicians. They was already doing professional stuff. I used to go by Ike and Tina Turner's house. I watched Ray Charles. I watched all these people. My friend, I know you remember the band Chuck Mangione.
Of course.
Well, the drummer was a friend of mine, James Bradley Jr. He went to school with me. He was a year or two ahead of me.
Wow.
But he left high school when Chuck, it was him and my other buddy's brother, Charles Meeks. There were the two black guys in the band when Chuck was hot. So I was around this at that time. That's what was my inspiration as far as me playing, to see these young cats. Well, James right out of high school and went with Chuck, and that's when Chuck was really big. And now James lives, I think, in Sweden now. We correspond on Facebook all the time. But I watched these. I used to go by Ike's and Tina Turner's house. And you got Ray Charles. I mean, the whole.
How did that? No, so I just want to be clear. You're blowing my mind a little bit in a few areas, but how did you wind up with access? How was Ike and Tina Turner so accessible to you?
Because the son went to school with me. And
Their son went to, okay, yeah.
Yeah, they son to school with me, and one of his sons dated my sister for a minute, you know. But for a minute, because he was right, so we had to, you know.
Yeah,
but,
right.
no, seeing that, and see, I just got into music, and so all my musician friends, guys who inspired me, especially the guitar player, he was really like Jimmy all over again. Great guitar player, songwriter, the whole thing. But naturally that away. So it inspired me to pick up guitar. But seeing they all played together. They was in bands. They was at Ike's house rehearsing, Tina's house, and it was, so being around that, seeing that, and not knowing, nobody knew me for playing guitar because I was just starting basically. But that was my influence, really my influence in music. There was so much talent around me. Another friend of mine, another Leon, who was the bass player, he was playing with Ryan Laws right in high school.
Man, it was 73-ish, guys, like 72, 73 kind of thing?
This like 76.
76, okay, cool, yeah.
So I think 77. And, okay, and I think I heard the Brothers Johnson went there. I think his brother Johnson went there probably in the early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
They graduated from Crenshaw. So, but seeing all that, being around all that music, I mean, if you was into it, you can't help but. And we didn't have computers and all this stuff to show you how to play these. You picked it up and you would play. You watch other people, and I got the fire back then. And like I said, I was working a job after school, so I didn't come up as a kid playing music. But I was always told what you couldn't do. Well, if you work this job, you can't do that. Well, you know what? Hell with that. You tell me I can't, I'll show you that I can.
Man, I just knew that talking to Marvin McDaniel here on the Jake Feinberg show, I mean, you knew that if you moved into music that you could take things as far out as you wanted to. There were really no rules other than making sure that you were continually listening and having a conversation with your bandmates, but there were no limits.
Oh, yeah, no, and I don't limit myself for what I like or what I play.
Right.
I don't get pigeonholed into one different type of genre of music because, see, there's so much you can learn from any and everything, every type of music. Everything has something to offer. Everybody has something to offer. The thing is, what I see is being open-minded enough to listen and appreciate what it is that the music itself has to offer. I mean, I love mariachi music. I can't speak a lick of Spanish, but I love that bass and that beat. I love it.
Wait, this is so classic. I mean, I heard this story from this great gospel drummer, Bill Maxwell, who played a lot with Andre Crouch, and he said that when Jamerson came to Los Angeles, when Motown moved, he wasn't in great shape. He was drinking a lot and kind of, really fell apart and became an unreliable studio cat. So Berry Gordy was like, to Gene Page, who was one of the arrangers of Motown, he's like, man, write out what you think Jamerson's bass parts would be. So Page did that, and nobody could play them except one cat. You want to take a guess at who it was?
Who was it?
Wilton Felder, because he was a sax player.
I heard he was a bad bass player. I heard that.
Oh, dude, let me tell you something. The Jewish club owner gave him a bass when they moved to L.A. He was a straight-up Coltrane tenor guy with the Jazz Crusaders. Picked up the electric bass within 3 months. He could read flypaper. He was the only one who could play Jamerson's bass line. So like ABC, the Jackson 5 album, is that kind of when you first got into the Jackson? Because that's Wilton on bass. Yeah.
I was heavy into that.
Exactly. That was Wilton Felder on bass. I mean, that stuff was so beautiful because you had. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just found that out like about 2 months ago. What you're telling me? That was Wilton Felder on bass. I just found out I'm like, what?
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, man. Harry Lieberman. I interviewed Wilton before he passed, and this guy was like, hey, man, you should be check this bass out. Within 3 months of being in the studios, he was, outside of Chuck Rainey, he was the #1 Motown session cat because he was the only one that could read the parts that Gene Page had written out. Because Jamerson's bass lines were so natural in their feeling and so organic, nobody could play them. I mean, yeah. And this is you grew up at the best. To me, if I was an impressionable cat the way you were at that time, you had human beings cooking the groove. And I think what you talked about before, maybe you can give an example of Supremes or the Jackson 5. Like for younger cats, what was a song that they sung that you could really relate to? There's so much fluff out there today that, only basically touches the surface. It's about I love you or you that, song lyrics that are not going to grab people. Can you talk about a particular song that really pulled you in because you could relate to it?
This one, well, I can't think of the name of it.
Yeah, it'll come to you. Yeah.
I think about the Four Tops. I think about the song Bernadette, right? I had no idea. I'm too young to understand what was going on, but the emotion of the singer, what they were singing, that's Four Tops. Down around the Supremes, I can go anywhere from, Where Did Our Love Go, and Michael Jackson. What's that blues song he sing? I think the name of it.
It'll come. When you remember, let me know.
But there was one thing that he sung actually, and he was like a old man, but young kids had the blues of somebody that's 70 years old. The way he sung that song, man. And people who know that music know the song I'm talking about. I can't think of the name of it. Trying to think of the name of it.
It'll come. No, we'll get it. We'll get it together. But I mean, there was this soul. It was soul.
Okay, who's loving you?
Who's loving you? All right, I'm gonna write that. Yeah, I gotta check that out.
You Google that and listen to Michael sing that song as a kid. He sing with so much soul, so much feeling, and to realize he's a 10-year-old kid singing this. And I mean everything. A lot of stuff they did. And it's all about. To him, it was great songwriting, first of all, and having something like Mike and Supremes. I was really in love with Diana Ross' voice. It really touched me in a way. Just certain.
What
songs,
about
man.
dude? Please tell me, because the guys that make me. I mean, you're talking about the iconic, and rightfully so. I mean it. It's beyond appreciable. It's so ridiculous. The Motown that I love is that Willie Hutch Motown. That stuff is so you remind me of a guy you would have been right in this. That was basically you in this. You would have been like David T. Walker, man. I mean, seriously, it's like you were there. Those guys were cooking so hard, and there was even though Gadsden told me. Even at that time, they still had certain beats they wanted to play, the drummer to play. It wasn't what it came to later with pop music. Kind of when you started to get a hold of things. When I'm not sure if you experienced this in studio sessions, but there came a point with drummers where 75, 76, there'd be producers that would say, "No, don't play yourself. Just play straight beats." Play what that last pop hit. Basically, don't play yourself. No individuality. That's when the humanity started to be taken out of it, and that's kind of when you kind of started. Do you remember those experiences? Did you have early studio work where you?
At that time, like I said, I just started playing at that time. So it took me. I did my first gig after 4 months.
Right. You're a quick learner.
But when I started recording with people, basically, for as me, I had a couple experiences like that. I did the senior. I never really listened to rap at that time. I mean, I hear certain things I like, but I didn't really buy it. But just so happened I bought one rap record, and it was a DJ Quick record.
Whoa!
So it was kind of funny, right?
Right.
The things that he was saying, because I thought about that kind of stuff myself back in junior high school. But never thought they'd let you put it on record. Anyway, lo and behold, I get a call like a week later. Do I want to do this gig with this guy named DJ Quick? And I started laughing. And the guy said, "Well, so?" I said, "Well, dude, I just bought this record for Quick. I never bought a rap record in my life." Anyway, I ended up doing a senior hall show. But what they did, the guy who produced it, who was a great guitar player, I didn't know he was a guitar player at the time. He actually did all the stuff on the album. His name is Rob Bacon. You know, a friend of mine, good friend of mine. He played with Shaka Khan and Raphael Sadiq and different people. But anyway, he did the stuff on the album. So when we did the actual taping on the show, which is live on YouTube somewhere too, we did the show, and I played what I thought it should be, not knowing what it was actually was, the guitar part, that is.
That's right.
And then Rob himself was MD. Now I just met him through the whole session for the rehearsal for the show, and I didn't realize I was playing the wrong thing until about a month and a half later. We was in Chicago during this tour, and that's when I finally got the actual album, what was actually played on the record. And I went to Rob's room, my hotel room. He was up above me, and I asked him. I said, "Dude, why you didn't tell me I was playing the wrong stuff?" You know, and he said, "I like what you were doing. It worked, so why mess with it?"
Exactly.
But he so that's, I mean, I did that. I worked with, I cut a track with Nancy Wilson, late jazz singer. I was working with Randy Jackson. And me personally, I wasn't a reader. And so there's a lot of, all the other guys was musically trained. And so I had to figure out something to make it happen, as far as the guitar part, So it was times that it was challenging because of that, but at the same time, you go for, it's more of a feel if you can make it happen, And like I said, I worked with quite a few people over the years. I was blessed to get calls from, and doing that and having a job. But what I did, nobody knew the other side. The music side didn't know I was working. Working side didn't know I was working.
No, dude, I'm telling you, man, when I saw you play that one time live, it was like, I seriously, you took me, what you're talking about is, you say, if I can play two notes and touch people's hearts or make people feel better. It was not only that, it was like you had the solo was, there was a beginning, a middle, and an end. I don't think there was one wasted note, and it wasn't like a chops fest. It was like going to the heavens. It was the exact kind of music that I know that you make it look easy. Cats like Larry Coryell and Pat Martino, they make it look easy. But
I love Pat too, man.
Dude, Pat is a dear friend, and I've done tons of interviews with him, and I feel bad saying this, but he's really not in great health right now, and I'm very worried about him. He hasn't been on the bandstand in like 2 years. I love the guy so much, but why? How? Marvin, like when you're in a group context with people you trust, how do you say what you need to say and also take people out of their thinking mind into the spirit mind? Or is it absolutely unexplainable?
Well, I don't know. To me, it's all spirit.
What is it? What do you mean by it's all? What do you mean by that? Because I really, this is really important.
With me, I try to challenge the spirit.
Yeah.
If I was never one to sit back and practice licks or to practice somebody's
I love it.
solo. I never had the patience. But what I try to do, if there's any artist that I like, I think about them and I try to feel what they feel, if that makes any sense. So my approach to it, that's why there's no boundaries for me. There's nothing that I actually work out to play, but it depends on who you're playing with too. So, and it's not about me personally when I'm playing with other people. It's about playing with everybody. Everybody trying to gel together. And my thing is, and it's always been this, when I'm playing with somebody, because the guys I'm playing down with, you saw me, I mean, I was just hanging out with my friends.
No, it was very obvious you guys were super having a ball. You're having a ball, man.
Yeah, I'm just hanging out with my friends. So the whole thing is try to find a spot, lay in that spot. It's like, you are a team when you're playing, you should be, in order to make something happen, to feed off each other. But me personally, man, I just try to give you 100, 150% no matter what. I had people like late Ndugu Chancellor, drummer.
A dear friend. One of my earliest supporters on the Jake Fine. What a beautiful. Yeah, talk about Ndugu.
Yeah, Ndugu. I was doing a gig with some friends of mine at Southwest College, and Ndugu was a good friend of my buddy, the drummer. My friend drummer Jeff. So him and Ndugu they was best of buddies. And Ndugu, he kind of checked me on some stuff because I was playing and I did the gig. He saw that I wasn't giving it my all.
Really?
Yeah, he told me, he said, look here, man, because he seen me play before, and he's like, you know what? You got to come with it no matter what. Now, I didn't take that personal.
No.
I took it like, okay, well, hell, he knows what he's doing. You know what I mean? Ndugu's a cat. So, if anything, I guess what I watch and I listen and I learn. So, to me, I always try to step up to the challenge. If you say I can't, I'm gonna show you I can.
No, I love that. I guess what I'm trying to say is like, specifically, like I know a lot of the older cats, even older than Ndugu, they like Jackie McLean. They turn around to their students at the Hart School of Music and or whatever, and they say, "Give me all you got, man." That basically was an urgency and an energy thing. What specifically, Ndugu just didn't think you were bringing the fire.
He knew. He seen me tap into the soul before.
Right.
And he realized I wasn't tapping into the soul. You didn't get what you could have. You could have gave more. Basically, let them see you, let them feel you. And so every time I go out and play now, no matter what, even if the sound is bad, even if my guitar is not happening, I tell myself, no matter what, you got to come with it.
Dude, I'm telling you, if there were, that's what makes you, but I'm just saying if there were a few hundred more cats that felt and approached the spirit and the music the way you did, we'd be in a lot better place today as a civilization, man. It is you're on the righteous path. I mean, it's just like,
I'm gonna tell you something.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna tell you something. Like I said, this new CD I just finished up.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends, great musicians that I admire a lot, really admire. And they have called me. This only had it done like 2 weeks, right? Called me and gave me so much love. And on this here, they said, man, you put the spirit in everything you did, because I didn't stay in one particular genre. I mean, I kind of mixed it up in a sense. And that was my mission. My mission was, like what I said about him, he said, man, you got to come with it no matter what. And so it's a blessing. And it makes it, to me, it's all spirit. Everything comes from God, man. Right. The spirit, it's a certain spirit that we all have in us. And when we connect musically, the vibrations that we get from, whether it's singing, notes, whatever, it's a blessing, man. It's such a beautiful thing to tap into. And that's my high, to be honest. That's my high. And I learned a while back. It took me a while, but I learned how to tap into it. I know how to tap into it, no matter when. I know how to channel that. Because I would do it before, and I would do it when I would listen back on something. I was like, wow, I really felt it. And I just asked God each time I play, let me, let them feel you through what I'm playing. If I can make you feel something, if it's just one note in a list of 100 notes, if I hit one or two, and it hits a nerve with you. See, that's when I know.
Yeah, I mean, this is so important, Marvin, because we are living, putting aside the virus and just the dysfunction that's engulfing our world. But, so many cats are going into, let's just be very clear. I mean, all the guys that have interviewed, Ernie Watts and, Mike Knock and Jan Hammer, these guys when they went to the Schillinger School, which is now known as Berkeley, there were cats like Charlie Mariano or, Jackie Byard who wound up teaching there. I mean, those guys would get off, they'd be already professional musicians, right? So they were making a living as a musician, and they'd go to the Schillinger School to get off the road for a while because the road can eat you up, or they'd go to learn a new instrument. But the point is, they were already professional musicians. Now, there was no jazz. There really was no jazz curriculum. Most of those guys were playing 3-4 gigs a week. Harvey Mason was subbing for the Duke Ellington Big Band. I mean, there were gigs everywhere. So that was the education. But now you have younger cats who are going to the academy to get a degree in music, paying thousands of dollars. And what is out there for them as it relates to a professional life in music? And so you have people, and so as a result, they've codified the language of jazz, which I don't think you can write a curriculum about jazz, and you can't do it. And then everybody also, through not really any fault of their own, it's just we're such a visual society now, and we're saturated with mediocre content on YouTube that people are not. You learned by ear. You were an ear trained.
I learned by ear. Taking a record player, picking it up, taking the needle back, trying to figure it out. Nowadays, they show you how to do it. You can tell you what finger you're on, tell you what key you're playing in. You do this here. I mean, they show you everything. And so, like I said, there's a lot of great musicians. Like
absolutely, yes.
The best, to me, the baddest cats are on YouTube. Bad musicians, but what a lot of them lack too, though, even with the badness, a lot of them lack a certain soul.
Hey, dude, I just love it. Dude, I knew that this was. Why? So as best you can, without, not that there's like some real secret. I think, not knowing you that well, I feel like you said you sort of used to be able to tap into the divine frequency, but now you know how to do it all the time. I think that had to do with your ego, right? Like just getting out of your own way and being a channel for the music coming through you from the heavens. That to me is the most. I mean, do you remember? I mean, also, I just want to be clear about something here. I'm looking at the Marvin McDaniel discography here. I mean, DJ Quick, Safe and Sound. Is that the track you played on?
Yeah.
So that was 95. I mean, you started to play in like 77, 78. So I really want to know about like early 80s, like what you were doing musically and when you recognize, because so many cats, Marvin, are like older than us and they have gold records and they have more money than they know what to do with, and they have everything that society says that should make them happy, and they're miserable. And they're miserable because the phone has stopped ringing. And what that means is they thought they were fully responsible for playing the solo or singing the song that got them the big hit, and their ego was fully invested in their craft, not realizing they were a conduit for the music. And I just wanted you to talk about an early experience in your career when you literally recognized that you were just a conduit for the music coming through you from the heavens, the same way the same way Miroslav and Wayne and Alphonse Mouzon in the early Weather Report. Those guys were just flowing from the heavens.
Yeah, I remember I was sending them at the Hollywood Bowl back in the day. Yeah, they were very good young age, but then I took the good and I wouldn't call it bad, but one thing I never did, I never thought I was this or any of that. Because I realized there's something you can always learn from somebody. And I was one that would take on the challenge. You tell me that you can't do this. This is not how you play this type of music. This is not the way you play it. I said, okay, I'll go home and I would play it. I'll learn it. Just to prove you wrong, to tell me I couldn't do this. But as far as the spirit, and what I was going to say too is that having friends that were great and they knew they was really good at young talented cats, they had an ego that sometimes was kind of, I thought it was kind of, very selfish.
It was
in a
off-putting.
sense.
Yeah, it was a turnoff. Yeah.
Yeah. So my thing was, I never wanted to be that part of it. So no matter what level I became as a player, I'm a grounded person.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like I was saying, you can learn something from everybody. You know, I love seeing little kids that are fucking phenomenal on their instruments. I don't get jealous of it. I love it. I use it as energy to keep me motivated. You know, but never hate on anyone, anybody. Music. Well, me. I mean, saying that musically, I never thought like myself personally. I don't think I'm all that. I'm just another person. By the grace of God, been able to express myself and love being able to do something that makes people feel good, not only myself. And stay grounded, man. I mean, I played with Prince back in the '90s. Well, what happened? I should do this at this trio. I should play up in Hollywood. This place called Black and Blue.
Oh.
It was
Who was in the trio?
And yeah, I had a band. My trio band was Just Us.
Jesus.
And it was me, a bass player and a drummer, my friend late Randy Goldberg, who passed. And we should play this place called Black and Blue. It's right across the street from where Guitar Scene is in Hollywood. It was a little Italian restaurant, maybe like about 50 yards up on the left-hand side, opposite side. It was called Gio's. And Gio's was turned into a place called Black and Blue. It was owned by Stallone and Dolph Lundgren. And so we got hired as a little blues act to play in a little lounge. They called it the Boogie Lounge.
Oh, this is so good.
And they had the main room with the big stage on the other side. So we got hired to the lounge act. But what ended up happening, we were just straight from three raw brothers, like out of a garage type, but hitting it heavy and hard. And so what happened, Madonna, a lot of different people came and hung out.
Yeah, it was the boogie room, man. That's where you went to dance.
Yeah, so yes, people hang out, and so all of a sudden one day we playing, and I saw somebody come through to my right side, and I know, and the guy Darren, his name was Darren Carroll. He was one of the promoters of that little boogie lounge thing. And he came to me and said, he whispered in my ear, "Man, you won't believe who just came in here." He said, "Prince."
Yeah, baby.
I said, "Oh, cool." And see, my thing, I always had two guitars and two amps on stage. So I ran stereo. And so as a guitar player, I know what guitar players like. And it just so happened I did a couple of Prince songs in my repertoire, right? Wow. But what happened, I knew what would get him up as a guitar player. And I played some old, Temptation, Shaky Grounds. That guitar lick is funky. Every guitar player loved that lick. And so, but it was part of our repertoire too, right? So I kicked that song off, man, and this guy walked up to me. He said, "Man, Prince want to know if he can play with you."
No way. No way.
Yeah.
Holy cow. The divine at work. The divine at work.
Yeah, the trip is that a friend of mine from my job, he told his girlfriend, my buddy would play guitar, talked about me, right?
Right.
And his girlfriend played guitar. She's big on the reggae scene, right? Mm-hmm. So he brought her down to see me. Now, granted, he knew I played guitar at work, but he ain't never seen me play. Right? He knew about it. A guy named John. He remembers John's last name. Anyway, so it just so happened the day he came down there with his girlfriend was the day Prince was there. And his girlfriend walked in. He walked in with his girlfriend, and his girlfriend's mouth dropped like, "Oh, my God." And we was like jamming. We was killing it, man. And, and from that point, he came for about a month. He came up every Thursday to hang out. She sit right back in front of me, but in the back, and just watch me. But as a guitar player, I knew what we liked, and he gave me respect as a guitar player. I knew it was things that he was picking up on, that he was doing his own thing, and just the idea that he dug it, and he was top of his game. He was Prince. And for him to tell me, "Hey, man, I really like what you got going on," that right there in itself was like, wow.
I just don't think that, it's tragic what happened to him. To me, that just is such validation regardless, it shows what a heady cat he was to begin with, and then this intersection of, I mean, first of all, how sick is it that Sly Stallone and Dolph Lundgren from Rocky put the club together? I love this stuff. The whole thing is just so magical.
Yeah, man. So I mean, and when we played up a while, we got fired off some bullshit, you know. But anyway, it was cool. It was an experience. The same thing. And the good thing is, the same thing happened at that same place before it became Geo's. I mean, before it became Black and Blue, it was called Geo's, and I met Shaka in the same situation. And me and Shaka played. We was jamming. Every Monday night we used to be jamming. Me, Shaka, and some friends of mine. And she told me, "You really inspired me." You know, I did this Hendrix tune. She really does. And you know, Shaka would get on the drums. You know what I mean? Play drums. You know what I mean? We had a blast. That was like a little hideaway that a lot of people didn't know about.
Dude, I just want to know every play. I mean, dude, I mean, so you're, but I just want to be clear. Like, when you first, obviously you were like, you know, throwing on, you know, records and putting them back and learning what they were doing. But, like, did you have, like, a big bag of American songbook tunes so that you could play, like, straight ahead jazz? Or you were really more of, like, an R&B groove cat?
I was more just really off the cuff. I didn't really.
It was like Freddie Robinson stuff, off the cuff. Yeah.
I didn't know any. I'm not one of the guitar players that know a lot of songs at all, unless I play them. I never spend time learning nobody's songs like that.
I love it.
If I happen to hit a chord, I say, "Oh, this chord is such and such." That's how I figure stuff out. I never spend the time because I didn't have the time because I was working 12, 13 hours a day. So I didn't have time. But I mean, I remember it on Sunset. I jammed with. I was doing some Hendrix stuff. Me and a friend of mine, and all of a sudden I'm looking at this guy in the audience. He's nodding his head. It was Mitch Mitchell.
No way, dude.
Mitchell got up on stage. Mitch got on stage with us, and we jammed Hey Joe.
Okay, but I want to. This is really important, Marvin. I've been doing this for a long time. I know cats like Prince, Mitch Mitchell. They would not nod and sit there and come every week like Prince did. It wasn't that you were just comping. And you weren't comping it. You were being yourself. Isn't that why they were nodding at you?
Totally. The spirit, great. Man. I'm telling you, the spirit, and like I said, I know how to tap into it. And my friend called me this morning, woke me up at fucking 6:51. A friend of mine, great singer, he had my CD now for about a week. Right. He's a great singer. I don't consider myself a singer. I know how to carry a tune. And my own, you know, and he called me. He's very opinionated and critical about music, and if you ain't come with it, he's gonna tell you.
Sure.
So he called me at 6:51 this morning, woke me up. He said, "Dude," and he's just getting off work himself, going home, that is. And so he's like, "Dude, I have to tell you, I'm really highly impressed with your CD." He said, "Your vocals, your arrangements on your vocal, your harmony, your guitar parts, where you play everything." I said, "Dude, I hate to say this, Marvin, but I think you're onto something right now. This shit is really heavy, what you just did." He said, and I know he's very opinionated. And I got that from a few of my good friends, great guitar players and musicians, singers. I mean, they have hit me up, called me and messaged me, left long messages, and said, "Hey, man, you really touched me, what you did." And it's weird because my girlfriend said, "What is it about this particular album opposed to the other one, in whatever song it may be, that you feel me in some way? You feel that certain thing." And that's how I know when the song is all right. Even if the guitar tone is kind of nasty, per se, if the spirit comes out of that, I'm done with it.
Dude, I'm telling you, if Mitch Mitchell is nodding his head, I mean, so I want to be clear, and this might be inspirational for cats listening around the world too. It just aesthetics. It's not about like, you know, what tunes you decided to play or original tune. I'm curious about how you went about. Was it was a genreless album? Did you make sure that everybody, if you recorded with other it with a band? Did you all hit at the same time? Was there certain miking techniques? So much of modern music, I really have a hard time listening to it because everything is mic'd now. Every part of the drum kit is mic'd. There's no leakage, and that's the stuff that I love about those old soul records and funk records. Is like it wasn't leakage where it was like detrimental to the vibe of the music. It was just there was a one right left overhead mic on the drums, maybe one for the kick drum, but the music could breathe. I mean, what were some of the...
It had to be, look, man, I wrote a song back in the late 80s on a cheap, second-hand Tascam.
Yep.
I think it was 244. I guess what it was. Yeah. And I wrote the song, which is on my album right now, right? And those days, you write it, and me and a friend of mine, we was sending tapes, actual cassette tapes to different record companies. We found a list with all these different record companies, a friend of mine, I did. So we just make a song and send them to different record companies, see who will get feedback, or whatever. We was trying to get some kind of record publishing. I got a call from Electric Records, 10 o'clock in the morning, on this song that I wrote back then. And I did it on 4-track, right? And, I mean, so you had legions, all kind of shit, you know what I mean, on that. But the emotion of the song itself is what this guy called me, and I still remember his name. His name was Amos Newman. He said, "This is Marvin McDaniels." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Marvin McDaniels." I wrote the song "Wishing Well." I said, "Yeah." He said, "My name is Amos Newman." He's from Electric Records. That was a major record company back then.
Right.
And just the idea that I got a major record company calling me on the song, man, I was like, wow. That was deep. Now, I just recorded this record. I just put this particular record song on my album. Just did it now. And I wrote it 20-some years ago. You know what I mean? 30 years ago, whatever. I wrote it back then. But the thing is, it still carries its weight. It's not, recorded as good as I know it could be recorded, but the feeling is there and the spirit is there.
Dude, I'm channeling the same vibe on my radio show. Is that, I mean, you wind up, I used to wear it as a badge of honor because I did these two unprecedented hour-long interviews with Bill Cosby before the world caved in on him about his involvement in music. Yeah. I never really got off on the Cosby Show. I thought it was kind of square. I never liked his humor. Yeah. But the guy was he wanted to be Tony Williams. He was hugging, he'd have Camille hugging Elton. So, I mean, I did these interviews, and, dude, he wrote an autobiography before the world caved in on him, and some of the quotes from our interviews wound up in the book. And I'm just like, that's because I'm not on Sirius satellite radio. It wasn't the most perfect audio, but it was the soul and the ability to touch to get him to tell stories that he's never talked about before. That's just magic. Yeah. I mean, I can't really brag about it because, he did what he did and he's paying, it's kind of, it's a tragedy. But I think what I really need you to talk about is, my generation, I'm a Gen Xer, and millennials, I remember Steve Cropper telling me that, for younger generations, music might be their, crowning jewel moment, and it's like everything in their life. And he said, but there's a lot more to life than music. And I feel like with you, you're not, maybe there was a different time when you would I don't feel like you were ever a hired gun where like you'd play a gig just because the dough was good. Like truly you play music because you want to reach that spiritual plane, and there's only certain environments, whether it be the Boogie Lounge or your boys at the waffle at the Seabird, but like you've never approached music as like you said, you've had other gigs to pay the bills, but like the music, it's more like that is sanctified. That is, you only put yourself in situations where you are going to be able to access that spiritual plane. Am I right about that?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. I was a hired gun at certain points, and I knew this. But basically, I look at it as being pimped.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
People use you to get what they can out of you. Like I said, I was used in this, quite a few recording sessions with this producer. I'm not gonna say no names. And basically, he was getting back at some other guitar player, right? And a friend of mine was a friend of his, and he told him, well, I got this friend of mine, Marvin, he can play that stuff, right? And so this producer, he hired me to do this guitar part. You know, he let me be me. At least he did that. And so it was my first, not first session, but first, I consider big band session, right? And I was doing this cut up in Hollywood. I can't remember the name of the studio. It was near Vine, somewhere the other way, near Vine, near Sunset and Vine. So I can't remember the name of the studio. Anyway, so I'm recording this track, and first of all, this woman walks in. I didn't know who she was. And she was like, well, where's such and such? The guy she normally uses, right? And the producer was telling her, oh, it'll be all right. It'll be all right. And she's like, well, she felt a little out of comfort zone not having the guy normally do her stuff.
Right.
And what it ended up being, what happened, and then he said, so I said, well, can you roll the tape back? He rolled it back. Let me hear it. I said, okay, one more time. And I went through it, right? And I see this woman, she had a fucking howdy-doody smile. She was so happy what I did, right? And then, so I got cut a check, right? It took me 11 minutes. I got paid $600 and some for 11 minutes. I thought maybe 100, at the most 150. But I said, wait a minute. I can get paid this just playing that little shit.
Right.
It blew me away. And so, and guess who this person was? The writer.
I don't know.
Diane Warren.
Whoa.
Had no idea who she was. But she was impressed with what I did. And I didn't realize who she was till after the fact. I mean, like maybe on the Grammys or something, getting Songwriter of the Year. And I said, oh, I know her. I did a couple of sessions for her. But I was basically being pimped to do that. And I met, what's the name, kind of the same way, James Cameron.
Oh, yeah.
I was doing a gig in Bel Air with some guys, doing a reggae type thing. And this guy said, man, I did this Lenny Kravitz tune. And the guy came out and said, man, I really like what you did. Now, granted, I knew who the woman did too. I recognized her, but I didn't know that was his wife. It was Lyndall Hamilton. But I didn't know who James Cameron was until he got to work for Titanic. And I saw him on stage. I said, oh, I know him. He gave me the other doing this shit Lenny Kravitz too. They all get this big party. This guy is up in Bel Air. This dude owned like a row houses, dude.
Right.
I mean, we were in his backyard playing. He had a sunken tennis court. I mean, I was worried about, well, what about the neighbors? We playing music outside. He said, don't worry about it. I own that house. I own this here. And I've got the guy's name. He was somebody huge. And it was so James Cameron was there at the party. Then his wife, Lyndall Hamilton, who I didn't realize till after the fact, maybe a year down the line, who was who. But I remember her from Terminator, you know.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, but I'm telling you, I got used for stuff like that.
Well, I'm talking more like in the figuring out. Well, I gotta take some Formula Trip gig, and play the same, and go on tour for yeah, exactly. I know all the stuff you've done has been cosmically relevant. It's so. Dude, can you listen? I have a question. Can you send me the CD because I can get my ears around it, and then we can do a second set.
What you do? Message me your address, all right?
I will. No, I want to do set 2 as soon as possible, man. We are obviously you are an integral.
You message me your address. I'll set it off today because I got to set some stuff off today anyway. So
yeah,
because I haven't put it up on Instagram yet, and when you check it out, you let me know what you think.
Well, we have so much. I just want to do. I want to do a set 2 as soon as possible. But I want to get my ears around the CD. So I'll send you my address.
Yeah, I definitely with it. As a matter of fact, I almost hit you up earlier when we talked. I said, maybe I'll just let him hear the CD so he can get a vibe of what's happening.
No, we'll save it for set 2, man.
Yeah, we do that. Yeah, you can ask me about what you think about, about the song, and like I said, but like I said, I would go on auditions and get gigs, but I wouldn't take them. Because I knew I wasn't going to leave my job for a tour. Because I didn't really care too much about playing behind anybody. I like the idea that people wanted me to, they admired me enough that they thought I was good enough for the job. But I play music for music because I love music, not because I'm trying to be a star, not because I want the money. I do it because I love it. If I'm playing in front of 2 people, I'm cool.
Oh, man.
When I go out and play, I mean, look, I made money doing this too, but like I said, music is not everything, man.
Well, that's what Cropper was saying, and that's the humbling part is that you have this, like, I think it all goes back to what you said at the beginning of being a painter. It's like you're awash in artistic colors, but you're also, I mean, it's so, like, my generation and younger, they hang on to the music and it becomes the only thing, and then next thing you know, they give and they give and they give, and then they don't know how to receive love and they drown, and then they take the. I mean, there's a lot of tragedy out there when people get
a lot, man. A lot.
Yeah, man.
I see a lot of people go by the wayside because they put it all into something. And they're going to put it all into it, but realize there's other things besides this too. I mean, the idea you wake up every morning is a beautiful thing. And so if you don't, like, I got a lot of musician friends because I started late, and a lot of them have done a lot of great stuff over the years. But one thing I realized too is that I was doing this and working, and and so
whatever, dude. You were working a day job, and then Prince and Madonna were coming into to the club to boogie down. I mean, dude,
I worked a hard physical labor day job.
I believe.
I'm gonna tell you what I did. I was a UPS driver. So I was working 12, 13 hours a day. I worked hard, man.
Marvin, let's save this for. We got a lot more to do. Let's do set 2 as soon as possible.
All right.
Yeah, it's great to hear you, man. Sure. Be safe.
Yeah, man. So, message me your address, and I'll get that out today.
Much love to you. Right? Much love to you, brother.
All right, man.
Keep the faith, man.
Take care.
Peace. Yeah, peace.
Late.
I've been waiting to do that interview for some time. What a legendary cat, Marvin McDaniel. Just beginning here on the Jake Feinberg Show. We'll be back with Nam Shakti right after this.